I feel like if Eagles got to get to at least 11 wins here on the season, and that would be 3-2 finishing up. At least, in my opinion, they got to get. If the Cowboys win out and the Eagles go 3-2, Cowboys win the East. All right, John, let's move on here. I want to go to the NFC East conversation here. I can't get too bogged down by this offense. They just piss me off here all the time. John, first, before I give you the rundown on schedules and what the truth of the matter is when it comes to this NFC East and how it could play out or how it may play out.
Might be over after tonight, by the way.
Take the what?
Dallas has to win tonight.
Yeah, no,
almost has to win.
What is your general feeling on the NFC East right now, John? Do you feel like it's the Eagles could actually lose this thing? Do you feel like, they have fallen to a degree where it's in play? I mean, you put the Cowboys yesterday as your third best team in the NFC. I don't disagree with you, by the way, in terms of how they're playing right now. Maybe even make an argument they're higher than that. You feel like this NFC East is in danger? What's your overall thought process on
I'll tell you tomorrow morning, man. If they lose, it's over. The Eagles are winning the NFC East. If they win, then it's like you better win in Los Angeles, and it becomes very shaky. And they're playing better football right now. But again, this is the NFL. They have one bad performance tonight, and the hole they dug was so deep, they're not going to be able to get out of it. So if you stay up for that game tonight and they lose that game, the Dallas Cowboys, you're going to sleep very soundly as an Eagles fan. If they win, there's going to be some sleepless nights until the Eagles get this thing back going in the right direction, especially if they play well. If they continue to play
if the Cowboys lose tonight, it obviously gets easier for the Eagles, but it's not over yet. Here's the rundown, everybody. The Cowboys' remaining schedule is this. Tonight, Cowboys versus Lions. Then next week, they have the Minnesota Vikings. I would put that in the win column for the Cowboys, no matter what quarterback is playing for the Vikings. Then they have the Chargers, the team that the Eagles are playing. Okay, they have the Chargers in Week 16. Then they finish it out with the Commanders and the Giants in Week 18. So Commanders Week 17, Giants Week 18. I'm just going to go ahead and give the Cowboys 3 wins here. Now, maybe that's unfair. It doesn't guarantee they're going to win them, obviously. 2 of them are divisional games. But Giants in Week 18, Vikings in Week 15, and I'll just say the Commanders in Week 17. Between the Chargers and the Lions, let's say the Cowboys split. Do you think that's fair, John? They split those games?
Well, I think they have to win out.
Well, I'm going to walk you through it. They don't have to.
Well, I'm not literally. I'm saying for them to win the division, I think they have to win out. Because
so if they don't win out, they lose one of the last 5, though. They'd be 10-6-1. The Eagles, if they go 2-3 in the last 5, will be.
Well, that's the point. The
7.
Eagles have to go 3-2, and they have to win out. So that's their best path. Eagles lose 2, they win them all. That's their best path. Now, could it happen? Sure, they can lose to anybody. But the bottom line is, the Eagles have Las Vegas and Washington twice, and then a banged up Chargers team, and then Buffalo, whatever Buffalo looks like. And they got Darius Slay, by the way. Whatever Buffalo looks like, that might be a tough game. But if the Eagles lose 3 of those 5, yeah, it's a disaster. They can't lose 3 of those. They can't lose 3 of those games.
If they lose 3 of those games, I think they'll lose the division and get bounced in the playoffs.
Well, they deserve to. Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're not playing well. You're losing to bad teams at some point. So yeah, you got to take care of business. But I think the whole Dallas dug is so deep that they have to be essentially perfect the rest of the way. And if the Eagles, I could see the Eagles going 3-2.
Well, if they lose Monday night, it's going to be trouble.
Well, I could see them losing to and I get people want to split with Washington, and it depends. Is Jaden Daniels playing? Is Marcus Mariota playing?
He's playing a little better right now, isn't he?
He is, but I'll take my chances with Marcus Mariota.
I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to split to the Commanders, John. We've split with the Giants.
Well, if you split against Marcus, again, you deserve to lose. And by the way, I think they'll win this weekend. So maybe they get some confidence because they're playing the Vikings.
I just don't know where your confidence comes from that the Eagles should just handle.
The confidence doesn't come from the Eagles. It comes from the shitty teams they're playing. That's a bad football team.
Stop the 2-11 New York Giants for beating the shit out of the Eagles one week.
Well, of course. Anybody can beat anybody in the NFL. Except Tennessee and J.J. McCarthy and Max Brosmer.
Probably the only guaranteed win for the Cowboys.
But that's why I say, like, the assumption that Dallas is going to win out or even go 4-1.
It's hard.
That's a pretty big assumption as well.
I agree.
Now they're playing well, and I said they're playing well. Are they going to go 5-0? No shot. But I think they have to win this division.
Well, if they go 5-0,
they might lose tonight.
If they go 5-0 and the Eagles go 3-2, guess what? Eagles fans, I'll be sitting on the couch with you watching the playoffs. That's how it'll go. So the Eagles I think it's a must-win game on Monday because even if the Cowboys lose tonight, which, by the way, I don't think they're gonna. It looks that Lions team is banged up, dude.
They're still favored.
Are they really?
Tough place to play. I believe so. Let me double check that.
I don't know if Amon-Ra's playing now. That's the big question for me. If he's out and they got no Laporta, I think Goff is going to just struggle.
Well, yeah, and I think they listed him as questionable. I believe. Yeah, Lions are favored by 3.
Well, it's about a push. I mean, it's a home game for them, so it's I think you get 3. I'm not sure how the betting markets work. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
It's basically but basically that's how they do it, which tells you how badly the Lions are struggling. And yeah, if they don't have St. Brown, they're not going to win that game. And he might not play. So, I mean, but again, Dallas has played very well recently. They still give up a lot of points. A lot of yardage. Better than what they were. And obviously they can throw the ball, and Pickens is having the year he's having. Javonte Williams is having the year he's having. CeeDee Lamb actually catches the ball against everybody but the Eagles.
I think this is one of Dak's best years too. I think he's a more mature quarterback. Line of scrimmage.
They're a very good offensive team.
Oh yeah,
Dallas.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
One of the few very good offensive teams.
Well, let's see what happens, everybody. The NFC East is closer than we think, and the other reason that I say it's a big thing here winning the East is because, if you look at the NFC playoff picture, the wild card teams have good records, man. Like that's why I said the Eagles. Like,
remember they got to play each other. Seattle, Los Angeles. The Packers are playing the Bears this weekend. So somebody's got to lose. Well, they might tie.
Both of those are only 3 lost teams. I mean,
Well, they also play each other twice. I believe they play the same day the Eagles play Washington in Week 16. They're the night game when the Eagles play at 5:00. So they still have to play each other twice. And they'll probably split, but what if one team sweeps the other? That's 2 big L's right there, knocking them down. Still going to make the playoffs, most likely, but people are going to lose. Seattle, is that this weekend? Seattle and the Rams? I don't know when
this weekend. Seattle schedule. Now they play the Falcons this weekend. Rams until December 18th.
They still got one.
That's a Thursday night game. That sucks. That game should be they should have a full week on that.
That does suck.
But the 3 wild card teams right now are the Seahawks, Packers, both 3 lost teams, and then the Niners, who are 9-4. So I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like if Eagles got to get to at least 11 wins here on the season. And that would be 3-2 finishing up. At least, in my opinion, they got to get. If the Cowboys win out and the Eagles go 3-2, Cowboys win the East.
Yeah. Which is why, that's where I am. They almost have to win out unless you're really counting on the Eagles shit in the bed, which is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. I just don't think it's going to happen. Boy, that San Francisco team is not good. Think about the injuries, though. They deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah, I mean,
think about if they had Fred. If they had Fred Warner,
I don't know how you don't hold that same thought process on the Niners.
Well, because of their schedule. But if they had Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, I've been talking about the Niners. I said preseason, watch out. Just look at their schedule.
That was one of your better picks of the preseason for sure.
Imagine if they had Fred and Nick Bosa. They'd be, and then they fail in the playoffs because they're not really that good as they look on paper. But here's what I'll say about the 49ers and closed circuit to every team looking for a quarterback. Just go sign Mac Jones. That's how none of these guys can develop quarterbacks. Just watch the backup in San Francisco and go steal him. Because Kyle's gonna develop him the right way.
Well, that's worked out for a lot of teams in the past who have went down that road. I wonder what the Niners are even thinking on Mac Jones right now. But you're right. I agree with that. Let's see. You think Mac Jones could land with Minnesota? What do you think Minnesota's going to do?
They're gonna sign a quarterback.
Are they going to fire the GM there?
They just gave him an extension. I think they have to wait one more year, but I would.
I just want to know whose idea it was.
And I love that guy. I've met him a number of times. It's his idea. I know that.
It was his idea on McCarthy, not O'Connell's.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think O'Connell. I feel like it was O'Connell too.
And,
O'Connell loves that he's like called the quarterback whisperer.
Well, of course, he's losing that. I mean, not only it's one
that. I think JJ McCarthy's the problem there is the player, not the coach.
Well, the problem there is the player, but I first of all, I like Kwesi personally. I think he's a really good dude. His draft history has been a disaster. He drafted Lewis Seen in the first round, traded down. He's trying, he's a very new age GM. So he's trying to do the whole volume thing. He's trying to do the whole value thing. That's why he's like, no, I don't want Sam Darnold. I don't want Daniel Jones. I want a quarterback on a rookie contract. He's trying to do all the tropes. And you like I always say, if you find a quarterback in this league, I don't care how you find them, you hold on to them like grim death. That's why I'm not benching Jalen Hurts. That's ridiculous. It is hard to find a quarterback in this league that can play at an acceptable level year after year after year after year. And if you get one, you freaking pay him and you be happy doing it. And you figure out the rest. Because, and there's never been a better example in the history of the football than Minnesota this year. They went from 14 wins to the worst offense in the NFL with Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson and spending $150 million on their offensive line and Aaron Jones and everybody else. And they have the worst offense in football because one guy is an abject disaster. And you had Sam Darnold in that building. And you had Daniel Jones in that building. And Aaron Rodgers wanted to come to that building. And you said, no, no, no. And if Kwesi's listening, and I hope he is because I love him, That is literally the worst personnel evaluation, and I'm old, I have ever seen in the
Pretty
NFL.
crazy from that point. John, real quick, just a point on quarterbacks, because I saw this the other day, and it made me it made me question. I don't know if I agree with it or not, but it did make me question. This guy puts up on X, John Frisella, his name is. Does good quarterback play even matter in the NFL anymore?
Oh my God. You only know it when you see bad quarterback play.
I know, but here there is some examples where it's interesting. Caleb Williams, 24th in passer rating. Bears have the best record in the NFC. Brock Purdy, 26th in passer rating. Niners are 9-4. Bo Nix, and I know passer rating's not a perfect
It's
metric,
an awful stat, by the way.
Bo Nix, 32nd, behind Rattler. Broncos 10-2. Trevor Lawrence, 38th. Jaguars 8-4. Goff, Dak, Mahomes, Burrow are not in playoff spots right
now. No. First of all, as you pointed out, correct, it's an awful statistic.
Yeah, but I think just in general, take out the rating. Caleb, Brock, Bo, 3 great records, and Trevor, Goff, Dak, Mahomes, and Burrow, trash records. And I think the point is less about the quarterback rating and more passer rating and more about.
But if you look at, and again, yes, if you want to compare Caleb Williams to the guys who are playing the best football, Matthew Stafford, Dak Prescott, Drake May, a younger guy, even Justin Herbert, when healthy. If you want to compare him to those guys, yeah, he's way off. But he's playing at an acceptable level. I'm talking about when you get poor quarterback play, like Caleb Williams in his rookie season.
Or J.J. McCarthy.
JJ, Dylan Gabriel, Cam Ward. That's what I'm talking about. And obviously, as you see some of the backups, when they have to come in and play, which is more understandable, and you can't operate at all, that's what I'm talking about. So when you get a Caleb Williams, and, the best example of this would be Tua in Miami, where it's like in a vacuum, I say, and I said at the time, there is no flipping way in any universe I'm giving that guy $50 million. But they did it, and they did it because they had to do it. Because what are you going to do if you don't do it? Well, you can have a season like Minnesota's having, but you really want to go through that?
No.
When you find a quarterback, you have to keep them. And all those names who I agree, they're overrated because of their team success. Those young quarterbacks, Caleb Williams most notably, Bo Nix is not playing well despite their record. And guys like that, who was the third? I forget. But guys like that, but I'll still advocate when it's time to extend them, and hopefully they improve. Brock Purdy was the other one. And hopefully they improve. I would actually play Mac Jones, to be honest. I think Mac Jones is a better quarterback, but that's me. But I thought Darnold was a better quarterback. That's me. But Brock played well. And that's to the point, and nobody knows quarterbacks better than Kyle, so he deserves the benefit of the doubt.
Remember, you talked about it earlier in the show that the business of NFL comes into play. Kyle probably has to play Brock Purdy.
Well, no, but first of all, he went against the business in the NFL originally when they drafted Trey Lance and said, "No, this guy's better," and he was right about that.
Easier to move on from a rookie than a $50 million contract.
Yeah, but once they paid him, yes. But I don't. And again, hopefully, Bo Nix will continue to develop Caleb, and I think they will. But right now, they don't look like $50 million quarterbacks, and it'll be even more when it's time for their extensions. But I also understand why you have to extend them, because they're playing well enough to, you can say, well, you don't want to be on the other side of the fence. And the other side of the fence, most notably, the two most notable, which that flat out can't play, are J.J. McCarthy and Dylan Gabriel. Flat out can't play. at this level. And by that, I mean, they could be backups, whatever. They belong in the league, but I hope people understand what I'm saying. I don't have much confidence in them developing into anything more than probably poor backup quarterbacks, to be honest, not even good backup quarterbacks. And Cam Ward is probably, he's got he's definitely got a higher ceiling. But he's a disaster too. You want to really go through that?
No.
Sometimes you have to, but when you don't have to, and that's why I think Kwesi should be, I don't like to advocate for anybody being fired, but you're just not succeeding at your job. When you're letting guys go in the building that are significantly better. And yeah, I've been told flat out that O'Connell wanted Darnold back. So, and you're right to be cynical about that because things have gone off the rails. So everybody's trying to protect themselves and everybody wants, well, this is the guy. So I'm not saying you can take that, but I got that information from somebody who has no absolute, no dog in the fight. So that's the belief around the league.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, I want to bring you to a comment that was made, I think, on Monday night by Jordan Mailata. I'll tell you right now, this is nowhere near close to 23, Mailata said. Let's nip that in the bud right there, at least as a player in the locker room that was a part of the 23 team and a part of this team. It's nowhere near. So,
well, I agree with
nowhere near. John, they started 4-0 in September, which I don't know what people think of September. A lot of people, Cilio calls it the liar's month. I kind of agree with him. So, it's a lot of bullshit football in September. They're 4-4 since then, John.
Football now.
It's true.
I agree with Jordan in theory, but I was with Jordan during the collapse and he was saying different things. Oh, we'll figure it out. So, you always take a grain of salt with players. They're gonna spin things as positively as possible. I just happen to agree with him. I don't see the same potential for collapse as I saw back then. I mean, the offense has struggled the whole season. So it's not like it's new. And the defense is better than that defense. Although, they keep having a couple more games like this, like the Chicago game, and all of a sudden they're way down at the bottom of the total yardage stats. I think they're 25th now. But I think as a group, they're a much better group than the 2023 defense. And Vic is obviously a better coach. So, yeah, I agree with Jordan. I don't see the same setup, but they got to prove it. And again, you haven't seen that game where San Francisco just, as I said, stole their soul. That game has not envisioned closest from a physical standpoint. You could argue Chicago did that, but they could have won the game.
I know, but think about how many opportunities Chicago left on that board. I mean, they missed the one touchdown pass to Zacchaeus. They missed another one to I forget who it was.
They should have been. They should have been ahead by 3 scores.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. And maybe it's a different. Game. But that's part of it as well. I don't know why Ben did what he did in the second quarter. Like everybody, I guarantee you, if they lost that game, because Chicago's a pretty tough town, they would have been all over him for that handling of the second quarter.
Yeah, I agree.
So, that's how quick it changes for coaches. If he loses that game, he's getting a boatload of shit.
It's crazy, man. It truly is a game of inches. I mean, even just thinking of like that Cowboys fumble on Thanksgiving that Cavante Turpin recovered. Like if that fumble gets recovered by the Chiefs, whole different outcome that we're talking about here. So it's interesting how small the margin is for things. John, here's the other thing though that I guess would bring me some concern. I don't know how you feel about this. It's kind of consistent with your messaging, but Nick Sirianni and the team, they don't seem to feel like anything needs to be done to fix the problems on the team. I mean, if you listen to the Hard Knocks yesterday, and again, Hard Knocks isn't a perfect thing to do, but you did hear some of Brandon Graham and Nick Sirianni talking, and BG's like, soon, man, this running game's going to get going soon. It's going to get going soon. You know, one of these games, it's going to pop. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good philosophy. And then Nick Sirianni, same thing. Doesn't feel like he thinks anything needs to change. They just got to execute better. They just got to do their jobs better. They just got to, perform better. And everything will fall into place. That doesn't really give me a lot of confidence, John. I think the best way to fix a problem is to at least identify what the problem is. I don't know that the Eagles see a problem.
I think they see a problem. I think that's the disconnect. One thing I've learned from covering the NFL as long as I have is I have never met. There's grumpy dudes like Parcells and Vic to use more currently. There's old school tough guys like that. Still a tough guys league. But one thing I've learned, you cannot be in the NFL by being a pessimist. These guys are relentlessly optimistic, because they when they lose a game like they lost on Black Friday and the whole city's burning down for obviously figuratively, but people are losing their minds. You can't operate like that. You got to go to work the next day and you got to try to fix it. So you can't just be mired in your own misery. So one thing I've learned over the years is these guys, and it really shows up with the really bad teams. Think about it from that standpoint. If you're Tennessee and you're one in whatever, those guys got to go to work the next day and get through the season and try to do different things. You have different goals at that point. You're trying to improve. You're trying to evaluate. You're trying to say who wants to be a part of this, who's got a winning mindset, these guys are relentlessly optimistic. So for people who are looking for, the negative, you're probably not going to find it certainly with the coaches. Occasionally you'll find it with players.
Well, I don't think it's about the negative. For me, it's more about is the process that they're committed to right now a successful line of thinking, or does it require some evolution and change? And I don't know if they're looking for that change.
No, well, if you go all the way back to the flower comments, which Nick got a lot of shit about.
Wow. You're pulling out the 21 flower comment. All right.
Yeah. If you go all the way back to that, because that was the startup and that went over. And I remember writing about it at the time, like everybody was laughing at him and everybody was saying, who's this guy? Fire this guy. And that went over like gangbusters in the locker room, the speech that he gave. And you'll see him, and he said it many times in the ensuing years. There's certain things that your core philosophy as a coach you believe in, no matter what, and you never change through good times and bad. And that's the process. So now he says tough, detailed, together. He's probably said it this week. He'll probably say it today. Your core stuff doesn't change, because you're going to go through shit years if you're around. If you're lucky enough to be around, you're going to go through bad years as a coach. And if you believe and you've seen this succeed, you don't change. You don't go off it. And I did hear him on his WIP interview talk about his consistency. Like, the players want consistency. They don't want a lunatic, who does one thing one week because he played poorly and does another thing the next week. So that's the one thing I think the biggest disconnect between fans, and I used to be that way. I'm like, how are these guys so freaking optimistic? This is a disaster. I've been around bad teams. They all are, because you have to be.
Makes sense.
It's the only way forward. When you're especially when you're struggling. In a lot of ways, handling success, which is what they're doing or trying to do, is even more difficult because there you do have to be honest with yourself and say, all right, well, they figured us out, or it's not as easy this year, and you do have to ship some things and evolve and adjust. But that's the part where I also disagree with people. There have been far more adjustments this year than there were in past years, partially because they have to. And, under center was the most notable one, and everybody talked about it for a couple of weeks and went away. And they'll make other tweaks. Some you'll notice, some you won't notice. But yeah, they're trying. I can report that confident. They're trying to fix it. And to me, it starts with third down. And how do you get third down? They're at the bottom, and I forget what the number is, but they're at the bottom of the league when it comes to third down and go. When it comes to longest yardage needed on third down.
I saw that. Yeah, I'd actually like to show that to the people.
They're near the bottom. I forget where they are, but they're like 30th or they're way at the bottom.
31st, I believe.
Yeah, so they're way at the bottom. And look, that's what every defense in this league wants, third and long. Every single one of them. And
here it is, real quick, if you want me to show it. Average yards needed for a first down on third down. I don't know if you guys can see this. Rams are first with 6. Eagles are bottom, second to last of the Browns at 7.8. In between the Browns and the Titans is not where you want to be, Jay, man.
No, and so much of that has had to do with negative plays, and sometimes it's penalties, and sometimes it's tackles for loss and blown assignments, and that's what they're trying to fix.
Yeah,
they're trying to fix that stuff. Now, if you want to blame coaching, like I said, the preparation, why guys can't line up correctly, that's an issue. So that number one, the easiest fix is clean up the stinking penalties. You're a veteran team.
Yeah.
What's the problem? And then the negative plays on the field. That's what they're trying to fix. And if third and long turns into third and manageable, they're going to magically look a hell of a lot better on offense.
I agree with that. John, what's your concern level on the defense? 2 weeks ago versus the Cowboys, they gave up 473 total yards. And then a week ago versus the Bears, they gave up 425 total yards. All right, you're looking at 900 yards of offense in the last 2 games given up by this defense. What's your concern level on the defense right now?
Somewhat of a concern. Dallas, I kind of predicted. It didn't bother me because Dallas is a high-flying offense, and it's in Dallas, and they're averaging 415, 20 yards coming into that game. It's not rare where they get 400-yard games. So that part wasn't that much of a concern because I kind of expected it. But the Chicago game was a big concern, and specifically the run defense. And, one thing I asked Vic about Jihad not playing at all and he admitted he should have gotten him in there. So he kind of took accountability, especially because they played so many defensive snaps. There's no reason. But he really likes Nakobe Dean. And, I agree. Nakobe Dean is a better run defender than Jihad Campbell. I don't think there's any question about that. But on Black Friday, he wasn't a better run defender than anybody. He just had a really, really poor game. And sometimes that happens. And so that's the relief pitcher mentality. All right, if somebody just doesn't have it, and you have a guy on the bench with that kind of talent, I don't know. That's a lever I would have pulled. See what happens. Maybe it's even worse, and then pull them right back out. That's a lever I would have pulled because N'Kobe's. I love N'Kobe. I think everybody loves N'Kobe, but he's not Saquon. So we talk about Saquon versus, I mean, he doesn't.
Yeah, right. Pedigree.
Yeah. So I thought, that was a mistake. But when you have a player that talented, I think you got to find some way to get him on the field occasionally. And I think they'll make that correction. But, I am kind of counting on the fact that was just a bad game because the history says it was just a bad game.
I'm a little concerned about that shoulder injury being referenced about Jalen Carter.
Well, yeah, he hasn't played well this season.
And I mean, now
especially from what was expected.
Vic admitted to it. Yeah, he's got a shoulder problem. I mean,
yeah, well, that's been going on for a while.
I know, but is it getting worse, 12, 14, 13, 14 weeks into the season, and now he's, largely being unproductive on the defensive line. I mean, he got thrown around. I've never seen Jalen Carter get thrown around.
He did. I thought it was interesting. I forget who asked the question. It was about Ty Robinson. I'm like,
not a good time to bring him up.
That ain't happening. But they did play Byron Young more, and he didn't play well either.
Yeah,
so
he got a lot of reps.
Yeah, Jalen Carter's got to play well for this defense, and he was playing better, and it seemed like the shoulder was calming down. And now all of a sudden it's a thing. So I'm not sure if it's a thing because he played poorly or if it's a thing because it's really a thing. If you get my drift, I just think he didn't play well. And hopefully that corrects itself. If it doesn't, and he's been a disappointment this year. There's another guy I think people want to protect because of and I was in that category. I remember when we were doing our top 25, Ed and I said, this guy might be number one next year. Well, and that's another thing for the people who say, I never say I'm wrong. Well, I was wrong because he ain't going to be number one. He has not played well this season. Now, there are games where he's played a hell of a lot better, but I got to look him up where he is. Let's see. So there are, because that is a rotational position, there are 129 players ranked interior defensive linemen by PFF. Jalen Carter is number 55.
Low, man, for Carter. He was
probably for him.
Yeah. Last year he was what?
And I was expecting last year he was 18th. And I was expecting him to jump into the top 10 and maybe top 5.
Same.
And yeah, he has not had a good year. And if you look at it, the guys next to him, with Jordan Davis has had his best year. And by the way, they weren't good either, but they were better. And I lost it. Now I got to find it again. Jordan Davis is 23rd.
That's not bad for Jordan. I think Jordan's had a good
year. That's a career year for Jordan Davis.
Yeah, Jordan's having a good year.
And Moro Jomo is 12. And he fell because he had a bad game. That was probably his worst game of the season.
Yeah. Now so that's my spike of the year is Moro.
Yeah. He's having a very good season. A little bit of concern because he hurt his wrist and he didn't play well against the Bears, and maybe that impacted him. But and it's interesting. I wouldn't think of it, but he's got a better run defense grade than a pass rush grade. Moro Jomo. So he's played very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jalen Carter's not taking that step forward, which is going to
Going to
be
be an interesting
interesting.
conversation, John, with the contract coming up. Let's
Yeah.
get we got Les Bone in the green room. I got one super chat, then we will get to Les. Here's Pumper, 24th offense and 25th defense. Besides the Fugazi 8-4 record, this is a bad football team. Brian Pumper is not falling for the banana in the tailpipe.
That's fine. I mean, I would go. I don't really care about total offense and total defense. That's an
Yeah, but
archaic.
the eye test says the same, doesn't it?
No, I agree. Well, the EPA stuff says the thing. I mean, it's even worse. So.
Yeah, so one more. Joshua says, J-Mac, what are the signs of a bad offensive coordinator, if not results? It's a fair question.
No, I have no problem judging on results. I just have a problem with people thinking they know what the hell the play call is or that what it's designed to accomplish. Everybody judges results. We all judge. I judge results. I'm just saying. I've been around this league for too long because I'm old. And Les is going to come on. I don't want to say Les is much younger at heart than me, but he's been around this league for a long time as well. And we don't know what the freaking play call is.
Yeah.
I'm talking about judging play calls is not possible without a ton. Now, sometimes we get that context and sometimes we can ask the questions and we know what went wrong. But, as I call it, these screenshot scouting. Well, Dallas Goedert is wide open. He's not part of the progression.
Well, the first progression was there on that play. I'm not. Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, he was there. Jalen made the right read, but just
that part. But that happens every week and for years. And it might even be in that case. He was. I shouldn't say he was part of the progression. He would have been 2 or 3, depending on who you believe. But there are times when somebody's on the opposite end of the field and they're wide open. And part of the reason they're wide open is because defensive players know how to play defense and they know what's going on. And they sort of lean the other way.